Yeah, now I'm hungry.
My grandson, who is 6'6", is coming over, so Grandma went out and came back with a tray of milk.
Wow.
I like going up
Thank you.
in there, by the deli there.
Oh, yeah.
Got the little thing up there. I like going
Okay,
up there
yeah.
and eating it.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, April 24th meeting of the Green Bay Plan Commission. What is your pleasure regarding the minutes?
Move to approve?
Second.
Got a motion, a second to approve. Cheryl, are you coming up here today?
Well, I hadn't planned on it.
Yes.
Come on.
Let's swap out if the man comes.
So we've got a motion, a second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Communications, none. Old business. Item number 1, consideration with possible action on the request of Alderman Guy Zima to have the city consider amending the zoning code to allow for a conditional use permit procedure in the general commercial district to allow for a limited outdoor display of sale items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're back with the draft for outdoor storage and display. This was at the last Plan Commission meeting. We talked a little bit about some standards. So we've provided a draft. The draft is attached within your agenda, and I've got it up on the screen here. We can kind of briefly go through it. So there was some existing language in the code, as you may know, regarding temporary display. So that is kind of in a lighter color. There's a darker color here where we've made some changes to the current language. So what we've done is we've added a few things here. First one is we required that not be obstructing required parking spaces.
Thank you.
Go Sharon.
Required parking spaces, there could be excess spaces, but these are required spaces that you can't display in. And we also applied a setback here of 10 feet from the property line, so this would be side and rear yard as well as the front. And we talked about square footage of this display area. We kind of increased it. We talked about 50, but we've kind of gone to 100. That area is about 10 by 10. We felt that was a sufficient area for display. And then when you exceed that threshold of 100, then you go to the conditional use permit, which I think was in keeping with what Alderman Zima wanted. I talked to him last week. He was unable to attend, but he did call me. We talked about it. I think his only concern, at least he expressed to me, was this number here. He wanted to see that a little higher, maybe around 150 or 200 square feet. I guess that's debatable, and we can do that, but I said we were going to stick to our recommendation tonight of 100. We felt that was, again, reasonable. I think his concern was that there may be some who are displaying that maybe are larger already, and he didn't want to compel them to come in or go through additional approval, I guess, where he didn't need it. So that was his concern. Again, he's not here, but those are some of the concerns he expressed to me. So we're supporting the request tonight, subject to the draft agenda that we just or draft ordinance we just went through.
Thank you.
What was the square feet of the material in question?
The
More
shed?
than 100, yeah.
Well, I never calculated it. I could assume that each one's about 50 square feet in size, if not
Yeah.
larger.
Oh, are they? Okay.
And there were, what, 6 the last I saw? I didn't go by again this week, but last time it was 6 of them.
There were like
They
3
come in
wooden
4.
ones there and a couple metal in the back, I think.
There hasn't been-
There were 5 or 6 that I recall.
5 wooden and 1 metal, yeah.
So they do not comply with this at this point?
That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
How do we define temporary?
Yeah.
Temporary is more seasonal, I guess. I don't know if it's that clear in the code, but that's what I would consider temporary. It could be 6 months to a year, basically.
I did get a call today from Alderman Galvin, whose district these sheds are in, and he said that, I told him what was recommended by staff, and he said he could go along with that, but he doesn't want anything more generous than that.
That's helpful
Okay.
to know. Thank you, Dave.
Thought that was reasonable, but he prefers nothing beyond that.
Go ahead.
So as far as temporary, you had said that it was a seasonal thing. I remember from last week, or a couple weeks ago, it talked about like under 24 hours, like bringing, putting stuff out in the morning and then taking it in and close. So this is different than that temporary. Like this is more seasonal versus a 24-hour period kind of thing.
Yeah, which is kind of a hands-off approach on that. I think that'd be a lot for us to police, I guess. And
Okay.
again, if we got a complaint, we could respond, but I don't think that was a critical element in the draft.
Okay.
But does it make sense without being too picky about it, to put in that word seasonal as well. Temporary, comma, seasonal.
We could, sure. That'd be a
Because
clarifier.
that, yeah, it gives a sense of what we're talking about, I think. And I know I stumbled over the same word wondering what it meant.
Sure.
My main question is, am I right in understanding that all of this was in the ordinances before except for the bold?
Correct, yes.
So there was already a way for somebody to get it by getting a temporary use permit.
Correct.
And what we've done here is to put more restrictions on it, in fact, than there were before.
We've quantified it, we made it tighter, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have to say, we haven't been issuing a lot of these permits. I mean, occasionally we might, a lot of times it is just seasonal and people put out a product and they take it in for obvious reasons, but, you know, we don't really require a lot of permitting regarding this type of use.
Mm-hmm.
Would this be for something like when grocery stores put up Christmas trees and things of that nature?
Could be.
It could be, but again, it's not heavily enforced, so to speak.
Okay.
I think about Shopko on the east side, East Town Mall, they've got a large nursery-type display. We don't require permits for that, but they've been doing that for years.
West Side too.
Or
Right.
like
So
a
there's probably a number of
military
others.
basin?
Yeah, but I guess in those cases, they have sufficient parking, we just haven't gotten a complaint on them, so we don't typically respond.
Wouldn't the Shopko example, though, be covered by point A, the greenhouse or garden supply store that's already in the code?
I would consider them a retailer, I'm not sure I consider them a pure.
Greenhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate that you got the total area in there, because I think that's really critical for this. What is the price on a permit as opposed to a CUP?
I imagine we charge $50 for a temporary permit, one-time seasonal permit. A CUP is $300.
Okay.
In this case, what are we gonna do about the fact that there's 6 of them now? We're gonna enforce that by a visitor?
Well, that's still an enforcement issue. I think, like Alderman Zima said, this was not intended, this draft was not intended to fix their situation necessarily or address them, but it gives them an avenue to pursue, I guess. They still have an enforcement issue. If this does get through, it'll have to come through for a conditional use permit.
So come back.
That was a stipulation of the city attorney's office regarding the complaint.
We'll come back to the planning too.
It would come back here initially, yes, and then
All right.
council.
Thank you. Motion approved. Second.
I would add a friendly amendment, if I might, just old Picky Sid, who doesn't pick at the minutes anymore because they've gotten so nice and short. In that, the first bold, right before the first bold, I would insert the word "or," and then after the end of the first bold, you want to delete the word "in," so it does not interfere with pedestrians, vehicle traffic, or required parking spaces, or conflict with other sections of the municipal code.
Do you want seasonal as well?
Oh, yes. Is that okay with the mover and seconder?
I go along with that.
Great.
Thank you. So we've got a motion and a second with changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item number 2, consideration with possible action on the request to rezone parcels 21-315-1 and 21-7236 from low-density residential to conservancy district submitted by the City of Green Bay planning staff.
Okay, just to orient ourselves quickly, we have Remington Court, Bear Creek runs up here. A small kind of offshoot of the creek system runs through these two parcels. At the time that this area was being developed, the city acquired these two parcels to kind of conserve that creek area running through them. It just kind of held out there in limbo as residential zoning. Comp plan does still call for this to be single-family residential area. The city is proposing to rezone this to conservancy, same as the main Bear Creek area, just to kind of preserve the natural area that is out there. Spoke with a lot of the neighbors in the area. No one is opposed to it. Everyone seems to be in favor of keeping it as conservancy. Spoke to the alderman. He was also in favor of the request to zone it to conservancy. And the staff's opinion, it doesn't conflict with the comprehensive plan because it has been a unique character of the area with the wetland and the creek running through it. Really not probably suitable for single-family development and better suited for conservancy. Staff's recommend approval of the request.
Thank you.
Yes.
What about that little stubby area? I can see how there's a road or something going through there. It says Grant Street. Why wasn't that included
Granite Court?
up here?
Up here,
Yeah. Is that,
these are what the city owns. We
Oh.
own these two parcels.
okay, so we have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, we don't own this, that would be up to the private property owner. We chose to do these because we own them.
Okay, and the other concern I have, I've been over there already looking at the issue with deer. And if they're really a nuisance, would they be, will this make them freer to hunt them or protect their properties because of that?
That I couldn't answer any insight. Paul?
I'm not sure we could answer that.
Yeah, I mean, the land use zoning, I don't really think would change that.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item number 3, consideration with possible action on the request for a variance from section 14-724 of the subdivision and plating ordinance to allow for a land division less than the allowable lot area at 1121 Elizabeth Street, submitted by David Krauser, Mao and Associates.
Thank you. So this area is the North Baird Mobile Home Park. Right now, the existing lot is outlined in the aqua area here. All that is the mobile home, except for on the very southern edge, there are some sheds that are existing right now. The proposal that we got for a CSM was to make that a separate lot on its own. Because it is zone GI and the minimum square footage required there is 20,000 square feet, and the proposal came in just over 16,000 square feet, they're required to get a variance from this body. We do have all the variance modifications listed here, what we would require to be a hardship in order to approve a variance for the CSM. Everything is listed, these are the same that we go through every single time. So nothing new there, mostly just making sure that it's not going too far against the zoning code and that there's an actual hardship available to apply the variance. From what we understand, the applicant is here so they can speak to this more. This is so if ownership were to change of the mobile home park, that they would be able to maintain the ownership of the sheds. So it would create a lot where only the sheds exist, so they would be separate from the mobile home park in case one of them were to sell to different owners. Ownership issues are not part of a hardship as required by our code. This is not for the betterment of the community. It is not the least deviation from our zoning code or from our plating code. And it really only helps for the ownership aspect of this. So with that, we are recommending denial of the request. But again, the applicant might have more information regarding why they are doing this proposal. But they do need this to go through in order to do the CSM. So if we don't allow the variance, then they won't be able to put this out on a second outlot, so.
Could you switch back one more frame, please?
One more than this?
Yeah, where you start, there. Where it says street 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the area in question only?
The whole parcel is in question, I suppose.
Because you have.
This whole area is the mobile home park.
Okay.
This is the only section that they're looking to divide off.
Oh,
So right now, this is an entire parent parcel. It's over 6
Okay.
acres, I believe.
this aqua area over here is not included.
Not technically, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
They want to do the division.
Because you were
only,
pointing at the
so-
aqua area.
Well, it's the whole parcel. I mean,
Yeah.
it does matter what the whole parcel looks like too.
Oh, I
It gives a
see.
better idea of just that all this is mobile home, this
Yeah.
portion is not. So this is what they want to divide off here.
Oh, just that area.
Mhm.
Oh,
So that's just very southern sliver right here.
Madam Chairman.
I'd like to
Yes.
hear from the applicant.
that'd be
I
interesting
would
to hear
too.
why.
But now that I understand the issue, I do have to abstain from,
Oh,
because of a family connection there.
Okay, thank you.
Move to suspend the rules to hear from interested parties.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder.
If you look at that, the original picture with kind of goes back to your question, that one right there. They do own that entire mobile home park, but there's a different ownership for some reason, I think, through the years, the way it transitioned. But the the area outlined in blue is under a different ownership than the rest of it, but it's still owned by the same body, okay? So it's a different ownership. And that southerly parcel that we're trying to cut off is actually, it's been used as differently with the shed that they've got here, and they've been using it for maintenance and whatnot with the property. There's, my understanding, there's a potential of a sale coming up, and they did not, and they don't want this part with the rest of it, so they're trying to cut it off. And we don't have room to come up with the square footage. We still have a fairly large parcel here, and I can't make it, well, first of all, I can't go deeper because of there's a different property that's abuts right at the rear of this. That property actually goes back out to the south. And then we can't really push this thing in much further to the north because of the trailers that are up in here that are existing. So we've kind of got a natural property line, so to speak, right in that area. But we do have different usage that this property, the only other thing they could do if this doesn't happen is they'd probably expand the trailer park and put some more trailers in there. Mike Harrell, who's been representing this, has not given me much indication other way, one way or the other, for the full purpose of this, but I'm sure that they have different usage right here and might be looking at some sort of commercial or something in there. That's about all I have.
What do you mean by some sort of commercial?
Well, I'm kind of guessing, to
Like
be real.
renting warehouses or renting?
No.
Or-
Not from my understanding, that, I haven't heard anything about that, but I know they use this. I know at one time, they had a guy that, we actually had done a little drawing in here. They actually even talked about, they had a guy that was gonna try and fix cars in here at one time. Now that kind of fell through, so we didn't have the square footage that they needed and whatnot in there, so that kind of went down they had to do an addition, and there's floodplain and things in there that floodplain in this area is an issue.
Okay.
It definitely is, so. But they do have the existing building with the shed here. And they'd like to separate that from the trailer park, and there's no other way for us to do it.
What happens if it doesn't get separated?
If it doesn't get separated, I'm strictly guessing here, but if it doesn't get separated, then it stays part of the trailer park, and I can see there probably being some additional trailers in there.
I think this is a legal non-conforming use, they won't be able to expand the use of it.
Okay, well, that answers that question.
It's only,
Then I don't know what the heck they'll use it for.
it's only 65 feet wide, so it's not a real big parcel.
It's actually 75.
75?
Yeah, I don't know where you see,
Oh, here, okay, 70, okay, I see 70. But it would remain zoned industrial, right?
yes.
That's the intention. You know, it's bordering, this is bordering residential area, so I think we do have to be a little bit careful of what we do here, and, you know, if it were to be sold separately for another industrial use, it might not be compatible with the rest of the neighborhood, I don't know. This, you know, just having a couple sheds there for storage of equipment that I presume is used to maintain the trailer park, that's kind of a use that's not really conflicting with anything, but there could be other uses that might cause issues in the neighborhood.
Thank you. Are there other questions?
What are their plans for this? Or I guess, why are they trying to do this?
It was not indicated to me what they just wanted it. Mike called me and wanted the thing split off there, and we knew that we didn't have the square footage to meet that. It isn't, you know, technically it's a different use than what the trailer park is. Now, I can understand some of the industrial, depending upon what would possibly go in there. Seriously. I know there's, it probably matches in with what's across the street, but
We have somebody else here. to tell us.
Seriously, I was kind of hoping Mike was going to be here to answer some of those questions, but he's not, so.
Thank you. Yes, Vice Chair.
Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but the properties south of this are residential?
They are,
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and if this was a residential lot, then that would not be an issue, really.
Probably
The
not.
size would be,
No, I think it's current zoning and the fact it's in the floodplain presents some real hurdles for future land use there.
so,
Oh, sorry.
if we were to approve this, from what I understand, it really wouldn't be really feasible for any other industrial use, but it possibly could someday be turned into residential.
It's difficult to say the future use, I
Well,
guess, but it'd be
true.
very challenging to build, I guess, on it. It's not intended for trailers, because the zoning would prevent that
Right.
from happening, so it seems more or less self-imposed in this case to use that for the current owner.
Thank you.
Yes?
I would be inclined to, could we return back to normal order of business? I have no more questions.
Thank you.
I would be inclined to stick with the blessings of our planning commission since they know more about it than we do. It looks like almost ends up with a piece of scrap property.
Kind of creates a remnant parcel almost.
So I would make a motion to comply with our staff basically and deny the request.
I do have one question about, now, if the petitioner wanted to come in with plans of something that they wanted on here, can they come back with that at some point
Without the split or with the split?
with the split?
They won't have to come back here, not necessarily, no. They can just go through staff administratively, but again, the challenge is this, the size of that lot and the floodplain really presents some real challenges for any sort of future construction.
Okay, I guess I'm confused about why they would initiate splitting it off in the first place, if there's really no need to, so.
I could speculate, I guess, but. I can't say
Yeah, we're
for
mostly
sure.
guessing at this point. We think that they want to do an ownership split, so it's just easier
To do
to
that.
have this
Yeah,
separate
separate.
lots. Yeah. We don't think there's any development coming in here, but no one's told us either way, to be honest.
No high rise or anything, huh?
No high rises with the trailer park.
And I didn't know either, so. I will say this for the floodplain, we have had lots that have been obviously narrower than this. We run into those, I think out around that Bay Beach area where we run into those. And we're able to make them work with the floodplain, getting them up. But I know when they were going to do the, when they were gonna have the guy that was gonna fix cars in there, and we actually did a design in there for it, it was raising that thing up pretty good, coming in off the street. I think Paul remembers that. And that whole thing kind of went by the wayside, but could we make something work in there? Absolutely, but there's gonna be a lot of fill in there, there's no question.
You know, I guess for myself, I really would want to know what the plan is, why he wants it divided in order to support that. And, you know, if it would be helpful to table it until the next meeting, I'd go along with that. I don't know if that would be helpful.
That'd be fine, and I'm not, I tried to contact him today and I couldn't get a hold of him, so I don't know if there's vacations or something that's out there that he wasn't here, because I really wanted him to be here because I knew this was gonna happen.
Yeah. You know us well.
I know the process.
We have a motion on the table, do I have a second?
Yeah. I move to table until the next meeting.
Well, I think we have to, are there no seconds for the first motion? Okay, so we have a motion to table?
Motion to table.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to table. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstention.
Okay.
I'm going to
Thanks for the
abstain
table.
also because I haven't enough information
Try and
to
get
go
some
on a
answers.
decision.
Thank you.
And I guess that would fall in line if I'm in favor of tabling it.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Item number 4, consideration with possible action on the request by Alderman Andy Nicholson to review the ordinance that allows oversized vehicles, trailers, etc., parking with possible action. The recommendation is to receive and place on file.
So moved.
Second.
And we do have someone here who would like to speak on this piece today.
Move to
Suspend the rules?
suspend the rules.
Thank you.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Stephen Seymour, would you like to speak?
Yeah, a few things I'd like to speak about, but I don't know, one of the things, I guess, in general today is the parking situation. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes.
I don't know, I talked to Andy very briefly and, well, what did he file? This,
It was a request to review the ordinance that allows oversized vehicles, trailers, etc., parking with possible action.
with what?
Possible action, but by us, but we're not going to take action tonight, most likely. But because the recommendation is to receive it and place on file, which means,
Right, I talked to Alderman Nicholson last week. He asked that this be placed on so the gentleman could come forward and speak to the planning commission. We are unaware of any of the issues necessarily, so we don't have a report to present. He was okay with Alderman Nicholson, then we receive and place this on file. However, you may want to hear from this gentleman.
okay.
Well, is this on the parking between the sidewalk and the street?
No.
No.
Well, there was supposed to be something about, this is just parking vehicles and crap all over the yards?
Oversized vehicles and trailers, et cetera.
Trailers, boats, campers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's turning into a frickin' ghetto out here on the east side by, in the Andes area. Edgewood, Heather Road. I mean, I got tons of pictures. I got a disc full of pictures. You want to throw them on there? Just today. Things that have been out there since last year I've been complaining about. And Andy has, and garbage cans. Garbage cans are still out in these houses, still sitting alongside the side of the house. You know, if this is the ordinance for garbage cans, I've called on numerous homes, duplexes, and there's so many violations, I can go out in 4 blocks and find 20 violations, just garbage cans. And we call in and call them, and we keep calling them in, and they keep on sitting out there. They're behind, and the people downtown, when Andy calls them in, they say, well, they say they can store them in the shrubs. They're sticking them between their shrubs. They should be out of sight. The shrubs have to be high enough to hide the cans. You shouldn't see the cans from the road for this. Well, I've been calling on numerous duplexes, especially the duplexes, where now we've got cement driveways or pouring the driveways 3/4 across their front lawn. They're parked in front of the front doors of houses, duplexes. We're just allowing 3-4 families to live in a 2-bedroom duplex, which is against the law. They got them parking between the sidewalk and the curb. I don't know how many times I called on one duplex in particular this winter. I bet you 5-6 times in a month. Guy was parking on the front yard. The cop said, well, it's icy out. He doesn't want his kids to walk out. You know, it's icy, put the car in the garage. Well, they can't get in the garage because they got 3,000 people living in there and the garage is packed to the ceiling with crap. Right? I got pictures, they're landscaping. The landscaping is alongside the house, the landscaping, everything's stored that should be in the garages is out in the yards. You know, these are just, these duplexes are right, almost right next door to each other. The whole neighborhood's a mess. I've got, if you wanna put this disc on the TV, you can
I don't know that.
go through that. We got, I'm not kidding, people running construction companies, there's shingles piled up in front of the garage. There's skids, there's this, there's that, there's trailers, ladders alongside the garage. I got piles and piles of crap.
Okay,
I mean, would you wanna look out your back, go out in your backyard, and in particular, and see a boat, walk out in your backyard, or drive down the street, and all you see a boat behind the house, a boat, and 2 garbage cans. It's completely in view. I mean, I moved here 25 years ago on Heather Road, and this city's turning into a complete, this is the one in particular, I called I don't know how many times, and they had the boat.
If I may interrupt this.
They had the boat in the front
on our
yard.
agenda to sit here and
They had the
discuss
boat in
this
the
and
front
listen to
yard.
all
Well,
the infractions of ordinances at this point in time. If these ordinances have to be investigated, they should be brought by the aldermen.
They are.
And listed. No, I don't, this is not on my.
And Andy's called them in.
This is not on the agenda.
Excuse me, sir, please go back to the podium. And Jerry, just one moment, please. Now, we said that we would listen to this man talk, that is why this is on the agenda, so that he can show us what's been
He's
bothering
talking
him.
about garbage cans, he's not
But I-
talking about oversized vehicles.
Listen, I've been complaining about this for over
But
almost
I
2
do
years
have-
now.
I-
All right?
Excuse me. both
Nothing's
of you.
been done.
Stop. Now, I do have a question for Paul. What is the proper process when there are complaints like this?
Well, it depends on where it is, I guess. There's a couple things going on here. I think the Improvement and Services Committee is looking at some parking issues that are going on right now between, let's say, the property line and the curb line, the kind of the terrace area. That's one component.
We covered that last year in depth.
Yeah, and that's going back to INS, I think, this week, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's kind of misdirected.
Man, unless it's not your backyard, you don't really care.
Stuff related to garbage cans is also in public
Don't
works.
accuse me of that.
Excuse me, both of you. We're letting Paul speak, nobody else is
Right.
speaking.
So related to garbage cans, that's a separate ordinance, that's not handled by the Plan Commission, that's handled by Improvement Services again. So I think that issue goes to them as well. I think they're looking at those issues. If there's issues on private property, then that is kind of where we come in as far as zoning violations. And there is an ordinance regarding the size of vehicles that can be parked on residential properties. We have a recreational vehicle ordinance that addresses that as well. But I think your main concerns are more with the Improvement Services Committee and what they're working on right now, not so much.
My main
the
concern
zoning side.
is, I don't think anybody should be allowed to park vehicles of any sort on the lawn anywhere in the city.
And they're not, of course. Right.
But they're,
But it sounds like it has been happening, so.
I've been complaining
what
about
would-
this, I got pictures, these pictures are from last year, I got a disc full,
Right,
50
so
pictures
those would
today.
come into our, if they're parking on.
50 pictures in
If they're
one
parking in
row.
the front yard, then that comes into our department, okay?
It shouldn't be visible to anyone, in any part of the yard.
But we have.
Front yard, backyard,
We have to
side
take those
yard.
in as a complaint and respond to those one by one. So I haven't necessarily heard about those, but if you can tell us where they are, we can respond to those. But again, if they're in the right of way, that may fall more towards the Department of Public Works and what they're working on, so.
So Mr. Seymour would call you,
I have a whole list,
Okay.
boats, trailers, we got a guy got a motor home, I mean, a 30-some foot camper sitting down in the,
Yeah. And generally speaking, if they're on an approved driveway, they're okay.
they're way in the backyard alongside the conservancy.
Well, then we have to look at it case by case, but if they're on an approved driveway, they're typically accepted.
But should these things, if garbage cans are not allowed to be seen from the street, should anything else be allowed? Trailers, boats, campers? It's getting out of hand. We gotta put a stop to it. It's turning into a ghetto. You roll your eyes around over there all you want, you always do that. I've been in enough meetings to watch
sir,
that goofy
please don't
ass.
attack the alderman.
Pardon?
Please do not verbally attack the alderman.
Well, it's getting a little irritating after so many years seeing this neighborhood go down right down the
Have you
tubes.
filed a complaint with the city before?
Filed complaints, Andy's filed complaints.
Okay.
I called,
Why don't you give me a list of those that you have concern with, and we can forward them to our housing and zoning inspectors, we can take a look.
you know, I think we just have to eliminate this whole parking on the lawn of anything.
Again, parking's not allowed on the lawn.
So Paul, can
Only on
Mr.
Packer
Seymour
Sunday.
personally call you?
So what?
and you
Sure.
will-
It's allowed on Packer Sunday, believe it or not.
Okay, and do you have a phone number?
Well,
for him?
Packer Sunday, let's get a little asinine,
That's
okay?
how stupid it is,
Well,
okay?
that's how stupid it is.
Jerry, I'm gonna ask you to leave right now, please.
Oh, gladly.
Thank you.
You guys want to sit here and discuss and so forth. That's the mistake they have in the votes.
So I'll
I'm
give
just
my,
irritated, it's been how many years we've been dealing with this, and it's just
Now,
getting worse and worse by the
sir.
day.
Paul,
I'll get you my card, my contact information. If you have these written down, I'll take them from you and we can forward them on, okay? And we'll take a look at them.
I can fax you this list, it's got boats, cans, trailers, and not only are they putting the garbage cans alongside the house. Andy called it in, and the guy downtown told him 3 times, and the garbage can's still there. They got a duplex,
and so there's
and on
nothing that we
the,
can
on the
do.
side of the duplex, there's 2 small shrubs.
There's nothing that we can do on this body
Well,
about this,
I know.
but tomorrow, give Paul a call, and he will guide you through the process of what you need to do in order to complain about and try to make a difference about these.
Yeah, it's just getting ghetto. This is, on the corner I'm talking about where most of this, on this little area right there, 40 gunshots last spring. 40 gunshots, you remember that? In a guy's mattress in his bed. One went through a house. Some went through a couple other houses in a general area, in a general corner in Edgewood and Heather Road. Would you like to live somebody somewhere and have 40 gunshots fired off on the corner? Your residential neighborhood. I mean, this is Green Bay, for crying out loud.
Okay, thank you.
It's turning into Milwaukee, 27th and Capitol is what it's turning into in Milwaukee.
If you had a minute, I can get you my card right now.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you.
I mean, it's just getting frustrating, you know. You afraid to drive down the streets down there in the city of Green Bay? That's ridiculous. I grew up in Green Bay. It's a beautiful city. And I hope my kids, grandchildren grow up here too, but I don't want them living in what it's turning into. It's getting bad, and we gotta put a stop to it. That's all it's to it. And I'm not done until it's over. So you'll be seeing more than, thank you.
You're probably if you want.
Have a good night.
Well, I would move to receive the communication and place it on file. You know, our role as a plan commission is to look at the ordinances, and, you know, there hasn't been a change in the ordinance suggested here, so, you know, it sounds like there are concerns that might be enforcement issues. I'm not sure that every concern is something that's a violation of the current ordinance, but, you know, I think Paul will talk with him, so I move to receive it and place it on file.
And there's already
Thank
that
you.
motion on the table along with the second.
Second.
I had the second from Jerry, I don't know if we
I'll
need to do a
second.
second.
All in favor to receive and place on file?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. If something like this comes up again, where it's really not something that we can handle here, that we can do anything about, what is the best point of action? Because it seems like it shouldn't be on our list at all.
No, I think just, this was germane to something that we're talking about. I just think the discussion veered off topic in terms of things that, number one, were on the agenda, but two, things that Plan Commission or our department has jurisdiction over. I think, you know, Mr. Neumeier stated certain things that were brought up are best handled at INS in terms of handling some of these issues, especially a complaint basis. You know, it's contacting us, and we'll follow through on complaints. This body does not hear complaints as a staff administrative issue, so just to kind of direct it back towards that. I think with this request, it's a little difficult sometimes, you know, when the alder is not present, just in terms of, you know, we usually ask to get more clarification on what exactly they're looking for. In this case, you know, Mr. Neumeier just speaking with him said, you know, wasn't of interest in terms of taking any action and was just comfortable receiving and placing on file. And so I think that was the appropriate thing to do.
Thank you.
Sure.
Now we have director's update.
All right, probably be able to top that, but so last council meeting, 2 ordinances were approved at their 3rd reading. One was the rezoning property on 721 Nicolay Avenue from R1 to OR. That's the Tower Eye Clinic. And then the other one is zoning ordinance that rezoned 2603 Nicolay Drive from C1 to Lid as city residential. There was property next to it that's a 10-foot strip of land. That was, I think, adverse possession right between the property owner and the Sunset Airbnb. And then the other, in terms of the report, everything was approved, including the staff request about this item that we just talked about. CUP was approved for retail sales out at 101 Bay Beach Road. That's the bait shop, tackle shop. CUP also for Staybridge Suites Hotel with the conditions that were on there. And then approving the street change name from University Way to University Avenue, Bender and Clement, and then confirmation of just those boundaries.
Thank you.
Sure. I think also, just one other item, I believe, Bill or Jesse had sent out some dates about canceling some upcoming plan commission meetings just based on the city council schedule, going down to one meeting a month, starting June, and then July, August, September. With that, again, if there's something that does need to come up and come through, kind of have those earmarked out. But with that, we'll be going down to once a month, starting next month.
Okay. Great.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.